What you love is yours. So I want to tie this into our Thursday's video, Emmett Fox, the Golden Key. Now Neville states, the question is often asked, what should be done between the assumption of the wish fulfilled and its realization? Nothing. It is a delusion that, other than assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you can do anything to aid the realization of your desire. You think you can do something, you want to do something, but actually you can do nothing. The illusion of free will to do is but ignorance of the law of assumption upon which all action is based. Everything happens automatically. Now he also says, in one of his other lectures, we must begin to take life consciously. For the solution of all problems lies just in this. The second man, the Lord from heaven in all of us, is trying to become self-conscious in the body, that he may be about his Father's business. What are his labors? To imitate his Father, to become master of the Word, master of his inner talking, that he may mold this world of ours into a likeness with the kingdom of love. So we know that love is the law, and that which we imagine lovingly of ourselves and others seems to express, and we say body is an expression of mind. Art is expressed through us. People, relationships, environment, everything is an expression of mind. One of the deep understandings that we gain from Neville's information is his emphasis on imagination as the spiritual path. And we know that he also admired artists who would be able to communicate, poets and painters, those that would express artistically certain divine truths. And one of his favorites was William Blake. And one of my favorite quotes from William Blake is the following. So let's relate this all together. He says, I am in you and you in me, mutual in divine love. Now Neville also goes on to state, love is our birthright. Love is the fundamental necessity of our life. Do not go seeking for that which you are. Those who go seeking for love make manifest their own lovelessness. Only the loving find love, and they never have to seek for it. Now, a few videos ago, I'll put a link in the description, I discussed my experiences when it comes to imagining lovingly with two friends. And what I found is that one seemed to change. And going back to the earlier quote here, where he speaks of free will in regards to assuming, and we imagine lovingly, that all actually reveal in regards to our own internal assumptions in relation to them from the perspective of love. And so my friend actually ended up transforming, even though I thought at one point that he wouldn't. And one of my other friends, actually, I found it to be more challenging to see him a certain way. I would react to certain behaviors in which I would interpret him a certain way. And so all I did was change my assumptions in regards to those thinking patterns, and then he eventually changed. That's because it relates over to this quote here. So let's read it again. What are his labors? To imitate his Father, to become master of the Word, master of his inner talking, that he may mold this world of ours into a likeness with the kingdom of love. And therefore we know, and it was discussed in Emmett Fox's work, and actually all the work that we've been discussing, that the essence of love is what we truly are, and also what we truly desire to see in others. And so when we see it in ourselves, when we imagine lovingly for others and ourselves, it expresses, so again, go back to the quote here, it is often asked, what should be done between the assumption of the wish fulfilled and its realization? Nothing. It is a delusion that other than assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you can do anything to aid the realization of your desire. Remember, body is an expression of mind. Words, as far as verbal communication, an expression of mind and the inner conversation. Same with body, same with all aspects of reality, is an expression of mind. He says, you can do nothing to aid the realization of your desire. The illusion of the free will to do is but ignorance of the law of assumption upon which all action is based. Everything happens automatically. So we know that the change has been initiated as soon as we accept the loving idea. And all is an expression of doing the divine will in imagination, which is to imagine in love. And to further emphasize this, he says, anytime you exercise your imagination lovingly on behalf of another, you have done the right thing. But if it is not done in love, there is a question mark, for God is love. This knowledge is not the result of some philosophic reasoning, but of self-revelation. God unveiled himself within me, and now I know that God is infinite love. Yes, he is infinite power and wisdom as well, but power without love can raise horror. And so here we are presented again with the opportunity to recognize a divine truth. And we can tie this into what we also brought up a few videos ago, which I'll put a link in the description too, the law of one material by L&L Research, in which they discuss light and love. And we related it over to light being consciousness and love being how we consciously imagine or imagine lovingly. Now, when we bring them together, we see the relatability here. He says, yes, he has infinite power and wisdom as well, but power without love can raise horror. So we look around in our relationships and our environments and everybody in our life, and if we see any kind of conflict that has spawned from within us from certain thinking patterns, we have the opportunity to change our thinking patterns by inner dialoguing or imagining them to be how they truly are, which is a representative of love. And that representative of love can mean different things to each person. It's up to each person to go into their imagination and conjure up or to have an inner dialogue with that person in their imagination, recognizing the reality of imagination as the source and expression of what we experience in our lives. And thus, from that premise, we feel, remember, feeling is the secret, the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And because we know that it is true on the foundation of love, it's unshakable, and we allow it to be. So he says, no matter what you hear of anyone, have no ears to hear it unless it is something lovingly. So we know what we desire, and we know what we want to represent to ourselves, which is love. And the internal dialogue or imaginal scenes that represent love expresses itself in behavior, in environment, in how we relate to others, and how they relate to us, as I've been also discussing and sharing the examples all throughout the videos. I found that my own relationships in business, personal life, day-to-day life, interacting with people, and on the surface level, it looks like, oh, we get along, we have healthy relationships, we seem to automatically connect and relate to on certain topics. In team building, for example, in entrepreneurship, we collaborate effectively. We have healthy relationships with our team members as leaders, clients, and so forth. All of that is assumption based on love. And we recognize that love is the law of God. Again, going back to the quote here. What are his labors? To imitate his Father, to become master of the Word, master of his inner talking, that he may mold this world of ours into a likeness with the kingdom of love. And so he says, no matter what you hear of anyone, have no ears to hear it unless it is something lovely. For they are only discussing a state, and they are keeping that being in that state. Don't listen. Pull everyone out, but don't forget to pull yourself out. So we actually start by pulling ourselves out first. And so people change, and environments change. And everything changes. Our behaviors change as a result, and it happens automatically and effortlessly as the impression goes onto the subconscious mind of an assumption. And we feel that conviction inside that it has been done. Now, if a person overthinks, then they can benefit from doing this in a state akin to sleep, prior to going to sleep, sometimes is referred to as a hypnagogic state. Their overthinking, perhaps overly critical mind seems to deny that love really is how we see ourselves in relation to the other person and how they see us. So change happens instantaneously. It starts from the acceptance. And all action and all changes happen from that assumption. If a person might not live with a high degree of faith, they may begin to force and try to change things when in actuality, they can benefit from allowing it to be, knowing that seeing ourselves from love, seeing others from love, is actually a representation of how they truly are. And so thus we see the emphasis all throughout his discussions on imagining lovingly, as imagining lovingly being the core of who we are, love, and the core of all others, love, and the core of who God is, love, brings a connectivity and relatability for seeing people for how they truly are. And how they truly are is a representation of love. For when we see ourselves for how we truly are, and we also see others for how they truly are, which is love, we notice that we find exactly the kind of relatability that we truly desire in the different areas of our life. So different areas of our life can be looked at, even though I say it's the same thing, love, can be looked at as playing out in different theaters, love playing out in different theaters, such as relationships, friendships, business relationships, every day when you meet people, going about your day-to-day life. As a person begins to live this way, they will find that they will move through life with a higher degree of peace. Because that right there, that higher degree of peace, that ease and flow, that effortless way of being in life, was actually, if we go back to the beginning here, spawned from the assumption, the true assumption of love, whatever that implies. So we know that change happens instantly, and it happens in the moment the idea has been accepted subconsciously. We know God's vision is love, and so we maintain that feeling of the wish fulfilled by imagining love of ourselves and all. And so the way we do this is to observe, and we don't have to do this all throughout the day, but I like to do it as often. Reactivity specifically provides information. As I have said many times, thinking patterns, emotions, behaviors, they can be looked at as messengers revealing what state of mind we are in. We can observe as a result of looking at these areas in our life, and from that, go all the way to the source within, because the cause is within, that which we consciously and unconsciously, here we're looking at unconsciously saying, I am too. And as a result of what we find, we can see what we are imagining. And when we see that conflict play out, we can track it back to the source of conflict-based imagination, which is not imagining lovingly. So we don't condemn ourselves. We don't shame ourselves. We simply switch back into the state of mind by imagining something that would imply lovingly of ourselves or others that we think about. And as soon as we do that, we go back into the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and we continue dwelling in that state of the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And as a result of it, we allow the changes to occur. So the key really is what you love is yours. Again, going back to what I believe, and this is something that I've learned and further seen all throughout my life, such as the examples that I gave in those videos with the two friends, that what you love can never be taken away from you unless we consciously or unconsciously imagine certain things that would imply that it has been taken away from us or it will be taken away from us, which then all it does is brings us into a different state of mind in which it plays out in the theater, which is very apparent. All we have to do is reflect upon how we emotionally relate, our thinking patterns, our behaviors, and our interpretations in relation to people. And so we want to assume deeply of love, whatever that means for us. And that is why it was suggested to work with the golden key. Again, I'll put a link in the description to Thursday's video if you've not seen it. Because if we imagine what would imply of love, and God is unconditional love, infinite love, then we automatically dwell in a truth. And that state of mind that is an ideal state of mind plays out automatically as others playing that role will actually see this. As a result of personally working with the golden key, I noticed that people's behavior towards me, my behavior towards others, how I relate to people, how people relate to me, and beyond people, environments, information, circumstance, all of it is seen as a representation of love. You can actually see the love in all. And this is something that we can practice each day. So let's go back here. He says, anytime you exercise your imagination lovingly on behalf of another, you have done the right thing. But if it is not done in love, there is a question mark, for God is love. The knowledge is not the result of some philosophic reasoning, but of self-revelation. Now, I trust that we've all been seeing this as we've been working with this information. As we begin to imagine lovingly of ourselves and others, we actually see them behaving and responding lovingly to us and vice versa. We see this in our friendships, personal relationships, in our business, all areas of our life. All of a sudden, people that we would call strangers become friends. I've noticed this in my life. I tend to talk to everybody wherever I am. If I'm at the airport, if I'm at the restaurant, if I'm in the elevator, if I'm out and about. And I notice that working with this information and really seeing people in my own imagination from the perspective of love actually plays out. People seem friendly. They seem very open to have a conversation. We get involved with deep conversations. There's a lot of playfulness and just a lot of love representations, whatever I assume love to represent. And we have our own intuitive understandings of what love means to us. It actually plays out in theater, plays out in how we relate to others. So let's tie this into the William Blake quote, "I am in you and you in me, mutual in divine love." So if we can see others and we can see ourselves as me, or as in they are inside me and I am inside them, and the relationship is mutual divine love, as in we all share the loving relatability. We're all connected at the level of love. We are all one with the divine in love. Then we have essentially assigned with a very deep, we could say, meta assumption, a deep assumption. And then as we continue to identify with that way of thinking, as we encourage it in our inner conversations, in what we imagine in relation to that premise, we'll see it in the relationships that we have with people in our lives, and we'll start to notice this happening in the most unexpected ways. And this is because we've repented, we could say, at a deep level, which is called metanoia, a radical change of mind. And remember, as he states, love is our birthright. Love is found within, and it is found in our imagination. And so then we take on the responsibility, we could say, of imagining lovingly of ourselves and others, and we maintain that as we observe the changes, thus realizing and actually allowing it to be effortless, where he says here, what should be done between the assumption of the wish fulfilled and its realization? Nothing. It's a delusion that other than assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you can do anything to aid the realization of your desire. You think you can do something, you want to do something, but actually you can do nothing. The illusion of free will to do is but ignorance of the law of assumption, upon which all action is based. Everything happens automatically. And we can relate this to all the different spiritual texts and the various books that we've been discussing. Everything happens automatically to what we commit to, which is what we truly love. Because love is our birthright. And thus when we connect to our birthright of love and imagine what implies, we will notice this express automatically. Here's another example from my own life. I always suggest doing what you truly love. Because when you do what you truly love, you have fun doing it. You enjoy doing it. It happens effortlessly. You experience flow. If you encounter what is said to be a challenge or an obstacle, you don't see it from a place of, I give up. You see it from a place of, here's how to transmute this, or here's how to look at this accurately, such as what we described and discussed in the 7 stages of the spiritual alchemy process. I'll put a link in the description to that video. So operating from the premise of love, we become master of the word, master of our inner talking. And from that, we could say automatically we accept ourselves because love is our birthright. It is who we truly are. We automatically allow things to express, behaviors to express, and things change in ways that we know or in unknown ways, such as the power of the subconscious mind. So let's go ahead and conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. We can say, I recognize the effortless path to realizing my vision by committing in my imagination to what I love. I notice as I commit to love, which is who I truly am, the expression of it in behaviors, how I relate to others, and how others relate to me. This brings me a deeper level of understanding of the subconscious mind's expression of the law in which all action is based. Body is an expression of mind. All is an expression of mind. That which I imagine lovingly is mine, is who I am, and expresses accordingly. I recognize that the essence of love exists in me. I recognize that the essence of love exists in others. I recognize the essence of love exists in all. And thus I find myself automatically imagining lovingly as I maintain the feeling of the wish fulfilled on the journey to realizing my vision. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.